A very good morning stroke afternoon to you all on this Friday lunchtime, and welcome to our regular Friday masterclass. So this week we are talking all about KPIs and dashboards and how to use them to help you make more profit and more cash and to help you make your business more valuable, which is what we're all here for, of course. So so please do let me know if you're here, make comments, ask questions as we go through. And if you want me to know who you are, you need to let StreamYard know who you are when you go on the comments thing. Otherwise, I just see a Facebook user. So sorry if I can't say who you are, whoever you are, hello there. Okay, so moving on to KPIs and dashboards. How do we help them make more money for our business? So before we think about what to measure, because here's the thing with KPIs, people go, oh, yeah, I need some KPIs. I've got all these KPIs for my business. Very rarely do people stop and think, what do I want to measure? And why do I need to measure it? What is it going to give me? And as a consequence, we're going to end up with a lot of over measurement of things that don't make any difference. So let's strip all that back today and let's come out with an idea of what the few simple things are that can make the biggest difference. So what do we actually want before we start thinking about what KPIs do we need? We want a business that will give us the future we want. And ultimately, that's financial freedom. That's the thing we're aiming for. We want predictable and sustainable profitability, which means we'll have nice, even cash flow. We won't have any financial stress and pressure in our business. We want our business to be increasing in value. Let's just make these slides bigger so you can see more of that and less of me. That's got to be a good thing for everyone. So a business that's increasing in value. And if you're with our Susan Hallam interview yesterday, we learned loads there about how to really work on the value of your business in a very tangible and specific way. So let's measure those things that are going to make our business increase in value. And we want the income and lifestyle that we want now as well. So again, we need things that are going to support that. And ultimately, hey, we don't want any financial stress, because life without financial stress means that our brains are clear to think about moving forward and making plans for the future, not bogged down in how to pay suppliers or worrying about bills or tax bills. Yvonne, hello. Yes, Susan's interview was great, wasn't it? It was just so helpful and so inspiring. So what's wrong with most KPIs? Now, I see a lot of KPIs in a lot of businesses, and this is what I can tell you about what I see. It's quite common that they don't even exist. So people don't have KPIs. They just aren't measuring anything really. Although they're completely random, where people have just decided to measure a few things without deeply thinking through why they need them and what they're telling them. They have far too many, or they have far too few. There's no accountability on them, so they're not assigned to any particular person. There's no kind of consequence of those KPIs, that they're not linked to anything in the business where people are accountable for the performance. They're not measuring the right things. That's almost always true. Not actually measuring the things that are making the difference to the business. They're not used to drive change. So people aren't actually looking at them saying, like, what does that mean? What do we need to change in the business? And they're generally not shared beyond the one or two people, either in senior management or in the management team. They don't often get shared, cascaded through the business to the people who are actually able to make the changes that would move the metrics. And generally not understood. I think there's so much confusion around what a KPI or a key performance indicator even is. And they're not connected to business strategy. This is probably the biggest downfall of KPIs. They've got to be direct connected to your strategy and to where you're trying to go. And they get confused with metrics. We can have lots of metrics in a business. We can measure lots of things, but are they key? And are they linked to performance? Because that's the big difference. So people talk about KPIs and dashboards, and it can be quite an interchangeable term. A dashboard is a graphical representation of KPIs. So we have our key performance indicators, and then they are represented on a dashboard. Now, that dashboard can just be numbered based, but it can also be graphs. Graphs are clearly easier to see and to immediately see where the trend's going. So key performance indicators, they measure how your business is performing against its goals. It's crucial that your KPIs are linked to your goals, because it keeps you on track so that you're not in the dark. You're not getting to year end and going like, oh, Let me get my year-end accounts and see how I did. It's way too late by then. It's potentially 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months too late by then. Business changes quickly. We have to know where we are all the time. We can't be in the dark all year. And it's got to be against your goals. So we talk about goals a lot in the academy and in this Facebook group. We have got to have great goals if we want to end up anywhere where we want to be. You are very welcome to not have any goals and to make it up as you go along, but please don't be surprised if you don't end up with the life you wanted. Please don't be surprised if you're saying to yourself, why am I working this hard for this little reward? Why am I struggling to pay bills? Why haven't I got enough in my pension? Why don't I know how I'll get to retire one day? Why don't I know, can I sell my business one day? If you haven't got goals, you're not going to have those answers. And again, I talk about vivid vision a lot, as you know. Vivid vision is one of the most powerful, fun, exciting, lively ways to create business goals. I mean, business goals in themselves don't sound thrilling. When you put a vivid vision around it, it makes it so exciting. You cannot wait to take the action you need to make that life a reality. Because if we don't know what we want, it sure as hell doesn't matter what you measure. It's like the Alice in Wonderland. If you don't know where you want to go, it doesn't matter which route you take. Something like that. I may be seriously misquoting that now, but I think you know what I mean. So what are great KPIs? As I've said before, they're linked directly to your goals. So you've got to know what your goals are. You've got to know where you're heading if you're going to entertain the idea of having KPIs in your business, because without them, you won't know what to measure and you're not measuring the right things. And they measure the actions that are critical to the success of those goals. So you can probably see already, this isn't going to be a 3-minute exercise. You're going to have to really think and get behind those goals. What actions, what results are critical to the success of me achieving those goals? We need to keep them simple as well. If they're complicated or no one understands what they mean, what they're measuring, or how to change them, they are simply not going to be effective. They're not going to work. And they need to be interesting KPIs. I see a lot of what I'd call like whatever KPIs, where people are going like, yeah, I don't really care about that. If you don't care about it, don't measure it. If you don't care about it, don't stare at it every week and month, wondering what you can do to change it. It's got to be actionable. So you've got to measure something that you can then say, that KPI slipped, we need to action it. So it can't be, I don't even think of a non-actionable one, but something that was within your control, that you can say, right, there's something there that's off track and we can specifically take action to fix it. It's got to be easy to get the information. If it's a complete ball ache every week or month to dig out those numbers and you've got to go through dozens of convoluted spreadsheets, it's not going to happen. Either address the reason why you can't get it easily or don't bother measuring it. It's got to be quick and easy, because otherwise you just won't do it. You won't measure the right things. And less is definitely more. If you're measuring loads of stuff, chances are you get complete overwhelm. You're staring at a screen of numbers and the important things aren't going to leap out at you. So less is more. Keep it simple. And please let me know if you've got any questions as we're going through here, and I will do my best to answer them. So you might have heard of leading and lagging KPIs. And it's important that we have a combination of both, because the lagging is looking at the rear view mirror. We're looking behind and we're seeing what has happened, because we need to measure what happened so we've got a chance to learn from it and change the future. But we also need the leading indicators, which are actually us looking ahead through the windscreen and seeing what's coming. Because if we're looking at what's coming, we've got a chance to change the future. This ties very much into the flash reports that I teach a lot. If you're looking ahead and you can see 1, 2, 3 months ahead, there's every chance you can make sure that next month, the month after, are months you want to have. Excuse me, rather than looking back going like, oh, well, April wasn't very good. What happened? If you're looking in the right direction, you should never have a bad month that you weren't expecting. So when we're looking at looking behind, here's some examples of what those metrics would be. Things like sales, obviously, we want to measure what our sales were. We need to know if they're on track or not. We need to know what our gross margin percentage was, because that's a key measure for every business. If our margin's slipping, we know that something's happened in our mix, or we've had an efficiency problem or a delivery problem, or product prices are changing. We need to know our net profit percentage as well. That's a crucial measure. What's our net percentage profit that we're making? And remember, we want at least 10% after tax, after dividends. And there'll be lots of marketing metrics that you can measure. I won't go into them right now because they can be very varied for your business, but things where you can measure the effectiveness of, so it could be conversion, it could be number of new customers, number of orders received, but things that actually tangibly measure the effectiveness of your marketing. And then debtor days is another really good one if you've got lots of customers who owe you money, just to keep a track on how old on average your debts are. And then when we're looking at leading, you want to be thinking predictive. What are things I can measure now that are going to give me a very good prediction of where my future months will be? Because what's really common in business is that we get super busy on delivery. We get a load of orders in and we get hell-bent focused on delivering those products. And guess what? We forget or we don't have time to market. So we've got to always be protecting future business, which is why having those leading indicators looking ahead is going to tell you things like, what's my order book? And how much order book should I have now for May, June, July, for example? What's in my pipeline? And what are my marketing metrics and leads? So it could be for you, depending on what kind of marketing you do, how much engagement you're getting or growth of your audience. But don't get caught up in meaningless metrics. Make sure they're absolutely key and critical to achieving your goals. So to give you an example, if I think about achieving our financial freedom goals, we need to be certain that we can deliver the level of sales at the right level of profit we need to keep creating the cash we need to invest in our pension and grow the value of our company. So make sure you're drilling into what are the key metrics. So clearly, order book, pipeline, and leads are critical things to knowing, and I mean knowing with certainty that you can hit sales target in the next 2 to 3 months. So be thinking deeply about what those metrics are. Hello, everyone who's saying hello. I'm sorry, I can't actually see who you are through StreamYard. So if you want to add your name on, it'd be lovely to say hello to you. Right, here's some examples then of achieving a sales goal. You could be recording number of sales calls made, number of leads or inquiries, number and the value of quotes that you have issued in the month or that you have outstanding. Because if you're smart at your sales stuff, you'll know your conversion rate through from lead to doing a quote, from a quote to getting an order. So you'll then be able to reverse engineer that back and say, well, I need therefore to make this many sales calls or do whatever it is your primary marketing activity is to drive those inquiries and sales in. Value of pipeline, like we've discussed before, value of order book and sales invoiced against target. So, but you've got to make sure that they are specific to your business, they are relevant to your business, and they are things you can change. So if, for example, you have zero idea how you get leads in, measuring leads is useful, but it's not probably key. It's more important to find out what the driving marketing activity is that will generate those leads for you. Okay, so things that will measure business financial health, again, critically important if we're building value and we're building cash. Gross profit percentage, like I mentioned earlier. Your balance sheet value, very important number to be growing and to be measuring. There's nothing as exciting as seeing, well, I think so, seeing your balance sheet value going up every month. In fact, we did our results tracking session in the academy yesterday and seeing our members saying, like, my balance sheet's gone up every month since I've been tracking it. You can see that wealth in front of your eyes just growing. Debtor days, like we've mentioned. Buffer cash, another key metric for business success. How many months buffer cash have you got? Always worth measuring that one. Net profit percentage and client concentration might be an example of one that's relevant for you. When we're thinking about business value and business safety, we never want to have any client more than 10% of our turnover. So measuring that, very, very important if you want to make sure your business is safe and you're protecting your future business value. So if we're looking at measuring achieving a business valuation goal, so how much money we want our business to be worth by a certain point, what could we measure to keep on track for that goal? And I'm not saying do all of these, picking out the key things for you is the most important thing. So depending on how your business would be valued, and it's really important you do find that out so that you know what you're aiming for, it could be an EBITDA forecast with a multiple range. So what I mean by that, EBITDA is earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization. So it's really your operating profit before you take dividends out. And the way a business is often valued is by having a multiple of the EBITDA figure you make in a year. So say if you make 100,000 a year and the multiple is 4, your business is worth 400,000. So measuring that EBITDA, very, very important. Measuring your liquidity and your balance sheet strength, again, very important things. Percentage of recurring revenue, because we know recurring revenue is a very, very big driver of business value. Customer concentration, mentioned on the last slide. A customer concentration, if you have like one client who is, I don't know, 30 or 40% of your turnover, that will make your business less valuable and it makes it riskier as well. So another great thing to measure. Gross margin again. Income per head if you are a fee-based earning business. And things like employee engagement scores and net promoter scores for measuring client satisfaction. Again, very important measures if you're looking to sell your business. Equally, these are all important measures just for you to know you're building a strong, awesome business as well. So these things are never just done for sale. They're done because it's giving us, even if you don't ever know if you want to sell your business, these things will give you the best, strongest, most profitable, cash-rich business that you could get. So to summarize then on our KPI story, here are some rules for you. Don't copy somebody else's. So don't copy your friend who's got a business or mine, the one I've given you here in the example. And don't let someone else just dump a load of KPIs on you that maybe you've read on the internet or they've used in a previous business. If they're going to work, they've got to be very specific to you and they've got to be really thought through. You need to decide your most critical business goals and they need to be tangible and quantified. They can't be abstract like, I want to grow turnover. Yeah, great. How much by? Or I want my business to be worth more. Well, how much more? £1 more? £1 million more? Got to quantify these things. I need less customer concentration. Well, how much less? No one above 10%? Give it a measure. Give it something very tangible to work to. Decide how you're going to measure achievement. So whatever success you're aiming for, what does success mean to you and how are you going to measure that? So another KPI that we include in our Academy results tracking is how much have I put in my pension? We actually track every month our total personal net wealth because that is critical in our journey to financial freedom. Decide how often you want to track things. Some things actually need tracking daily. If you're in a fast moving business, then you need to track them daily. So it might be orders coming in each day or production out the door each day or backlog of orders. Things, sometimes it might be moving that quickly you need daily, weekly almost certainly, and that's where the weekly flash report really comes into play. And some things be perfectly fine to measure monthly, like balance sheet value, like customer concentration, like business worth, perfectly fine to do those monthly. You may even drop that to quarterly, but I would just always argue on quarterly, do you really only want to know something 4 times a year? If your future is important to you, why wouldn't you want to measure it all the time? The data needs to be easy to get to, as we've said. It can't be a complete nightmare to dig out your KPI information every week. And with all the amazing tools there are now, how could you automate that? And track them as a trend. So with KPIs, we don't just want to see the figure on its own, because as I've talked about in a lot of other things, we need context and comparison for everything we look at financially. So you telling me that you made 37% gross profit this month is completely meaningless unless I can see the last few months as well, and I can see the trajectory and see the trend. So there's a really good reason why these are best presented as a graph, because if you can actually see if the figure's going up or down, then you're not staring at a sea of numbers. And let's face it, the best of us find a sea of numbers quite difficult to interpret. Graphs are elegant, they are simple, and we can see straight away if it's going up or down. Decide who is accountable for each measure. So we're not just going like, oh, leads are down. Okay, so whose responsibility is that? Who needs to go and take action because leads are down? What do we need to do because leads are down? And then taking action. If you're going to use KPIs, make sure you've built into your process that you take action from when you look at your dashboard and you say, right, leads are down, we're going to do this, and Fred's going to do it. And then next week and next month, we need to see that measure moving. So yeah, take fast decisions, take action, and really share the information. Cascade it through your business if there's more than just you or a couple of people. Share it with the people who can make an impact on that number, and share it with the people whose work and activities are actually creating that number. So share it with the factory floor, share it with the salespeople, so that people can see how their efforts and energy contributes to the success of the company. And in terms of where to do these things, you can put them on a Word document, you could put them in a shared system you've got, a project management system or a intranet, a spreadsheet, or there's loads and loads of KPI software out there. I'm not going to recommend any particular one because there's so many, but find a way. And if you're a techno freak and you love everything automated, go and find an app to do it. If you're happy just bashing it into a spreadsheet with a graph like I am, because I know where I am with a spreadsheet, then do that. But find a way that's simple, easy, that speaks to you, that's your way of doing things, and that you know that you can definitely, poor Fred, that you can definitely maintain. Because the key for these is, like with monthly management accounts, like with budgeting, like with all the things we talk about, consistency is the key. If you do these once and don't look at them again, there's really no point. But these can play a very, very powerful part in you achieving the future you want if you use them well and keep them simple enough to make them really effective and something that you will just make part of your routine. So to finish off, has anybody got any questions about KPIs? Anything that I've not answered, any specific within your business that you'd like to know? Please let me know below. I'll just give a few seconds for that because I think I'm on a 20-second time delay with StreamYard. Yeah, and anything you can think of now, what would be a great example in your business, for example? What things do you measure? Have you got a really great way of doing KPIs already? This is the awkward silence where I sit and wait for your questions, or not. Let's see. Okay, well, nothing's coming through so far. So, well, I hope you have found that useful. I would love to hear from you. So if you've watched this either live or on replay, please let me know what you found useful, what you're going to implement. If you want to ask me about your KPIs, please feel free to put that in the comments. If you're watching us on replay, hashtag replay, give it a like and not a share, give it a like, because it's really important that I can see that this has been helpful to you. And also let me know what else you'd like to know. Yvonne, I delegated the KPIs to an employee so they could see how the business was doing. Yes, that's a really good way of doing them. Really good way. And it makes them feel quite important and engaged in the strategic part of the business. And Yvonne, you're probably not going to answer in time. Did you find that they did that diligently, or did you have to kind of chase them and keep on top of them? But yeah, I've seen that works really well. I've got clients, we delegate that to the accounts person or to an operations person. And it's just that, someone especially someone who likes routine and process and structure, they are a really good person to look after your KPIs. Because quite likely, if it's left to you and you're the business owner, it's probably not going to happen for very often, because you're probably into shiny thing syndrome, and sitting down every week or month to do the KPIs probably isn't your bag. So delegating it to someone who is absolutely process orientated is a really, really good idea. Oh, that's so good, Yvonne. Yeah, then they're announcing the KPIs. That's brilliant. I love that. Okay, guys, I'm going to assume there's no more questions, but if there are, please put them in the feed. I will come back and answer them for you. And yeah, have a great rest of Friday. Hope the sun's shining where you are, and have a fabulous weekend. And I'll see you all very soon. Take care. Bye.